Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And we were just talking about whether you are going to have snow today or ice rain. We'll make sure that this show will be wild for you. That's what we do every single week on Analysts Gone Wild. So we are going to start with quick intros of everybody. Sam Gupta here, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent technology advisory firm. On that note, Brian, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sam. Glad to be back for Analysts Gone Wild. I'm at Infotech Research Group, where I'm a principal research analyst. I focus on technology trends. I focus on emerging technologies and advising CIOs.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Brian. Ken, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Ken Gonzalez, otherwise known as Ken Gon. So feel free to call me that if you don't already. I'm lead advisor and founder at Pretty Simple Group, and I cover CIO topics, infrastructure and operations, and how AI fits with all of that. So it's great to be back and good to see y'all.
So I was going to call you the Big K.
Big K.
That even shortens it more, doesn't it?
That's going to be
Hopefully
third
not
nickname
Special
for
K.
him.
That's
Special. Hi, I'm John Hansen, Procurement Insights founder, one of the oldest blogs in the procurement industry and creator of the Hansen Fit Score. I'm just glad to be here running throughout the room with scissors because that's what makes this show so good. It's free flowing. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Big K.
I'm Analyst Shankar, founder CEO, House of Analyst Shankar. I track the digital engineering services market, primarily more catering towards the manufacturing and the asset-heavy verticals. Happy to be back on the show. Over to you, Sam.
Okay, amazing. And your official nickname has become Encore, I guess. Everybody calls you that. Thank you so much for being here. All right, so let's start with the quick story. I don't think we are going to have 15 minutes of warm up here, like Robert does. I mean, I'm more of the on-point guy, so I'll jump right onto the story. So here we are talking about voice AI. In my personal experience, voice AI is going to be super hot. I think we have covered some stories before. I have expressed my love for Alexa. I really, really, really do love Alexa, especially with AI. Sorry, Ken, to disappoint you. I mean, it's pretty good, man. I mean, everybody needs some sort of emotional connection, Sometimes I don't have answers, and those discoveries are happening with Alexa at this point of time. It's supposed to be a life lesson, and it does answer a lot of questions that I never had answers on. So I think voice AI is going to be a big thing. Here we are talking about $1 billion valuation for this particular startup. So I'm super excited. Now over to you guys.
Well, I've got to add. Sorry, but I have to add. Voice recognition, voice of these things in Alexa is great. I still argue with Siri direction and roadmap because I know better. Now, you know what? Behind that, there's a serious thought is that when you have humans interacting with AI, it's a collaboration and communication rather than just blindly saying, okay, whatever Alexa tells me I'm going to do. Conversely, you have your own way of thinking. I mean, that's really, that's the first thought that came to my mind. Do you know what I mean, Kangon?
Yeah, I do. So the thing I'll say about this is I'm actually pretty excited about it. And I am very bullish on the state of using speech technology. Because I think that for the most part, when we think about the way things are designed today, it's basically either organized around a traditional application and the way that we present things inside of a GUI, or it's the chat model where there's a box that you can actually go to and type in, or maybe even dictate some of the things, and then it goes off and does its thing. And it doesn't matter whether that's an AI model or whether that's an application. But I think that the real frontier on this is being able to lose the traditional interfaces in favor of something that will actually make the user experience better. Now, voice technology has been pretty spotty up until now, where it still sounds kind of mechanical. But I think that focusing on, companies like Deepgram and 11 Labs and some of the other folks that are doing research and building product in this area, I'm bullish overall that it's going to help the state of computing to make things more accessible for the people that need to consume these products and services. So, because it literally is changing the interface in a way where much of the tedium about how to consume a product will disappear, and what you'll be left with is more of a, I guess you might say, a command center, or a way of a high-level look at whatever the domain is that you're using the software for, and start looking more like Star Trek. And quite frankly, I like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of the voice interface too. And, Sam, you have an Alexa household, I guess. We have the Google Assistant in ours, but I've been using that since 2017. Basically, as soon as it came to Canada, I was putting those smart speakers around my house, and then automating my lights and other things, my Roomba vacuum, stuff like that I could talk to. And I thought that it would be a lot more popular than it was, honestly, to have this sort of present voice interface in your home that you could always reach out to, answer a question, set an alarm. And definitely, it has its market, but I don't think it quite had the breakthrough that some of us were expecting at the time. And some of it has been the technology, right? It started off with those natural language processing models sort of passing off to more rules-based systems. But now we have the multimodality LLMs, right? So we have native voice that can answer your questions. So there's lower latency, there's more flexibility. It feels like you're having a real conversation. And people have been amazed by this sort of experience when they're using voice mode on Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever it is. Pick your AI interface of choice. And this enterprise play, I think, is a good one, right? There's a lot of different places where I think enterprises could benefit from automating their voice interactions, notwithstanding some of the disasters we've seen at drive-thrus, right? That Taco Bell story about something like 70,000 water cups being ordered with an attempt to execute from an AI system. So put the right guardrails in place, put your human in the loop at the appropriate place still. But yeah, we can pursue this. I think we're ready for some real-time voice interfaces in the enterprise.
I agree with all the points. There's a quick question from my side to all the panelists. That is the acquisition of Off1 and the incident of Taco Bell. All of these point to the fact that this specific technology is more prominent in the quick service restaurant space. Is my understanding right? And is there any specific reason why quick service restaurants and this space would be better suited for this technology?
So I'll address that if you guys don't have any comments on that. Okay, Ken, you go first. Oh, okay, yeah. I'll go then.
I was referring to you.
Okay, so from my perspective, if I look at the quick service restaurants, and I don't know, Ankur, whether you have seen the real driveways, at least in North America, we have a lot of them. I don't know if other countries have those, but that is probably one of the best commercial application that I've seen of voice, because when you are driving, you are going through these driveways and you are sort of talking. Right now you are talking to human, but you can probably talk to a voice agent, right, or AI agent in those cases. Now let's find out if you have similar applications anywhere else. Okay, it's probably going to be very drive-through centric, so that could be a very QSR kind of use case. Other than that, I mean, you have home applications. So I think Brian was right that it could not have the similar breakthrough, because for companies, they need to make money. And if they are trying to make money, they have to find some sort of operational efficiency, and that's where I see voice AI application to be more used, I would say, in the QSR applications, just because that's a natural interface, as opposed to creating a new market for this kind of interface. I don't know what you guys think.
I think the drive-through experience is bad, right? And we often feel misheard. Your order is wrong. You have to repeat yourself, and it's probably a pain for the person working the drive-through as well, and trying to listen to all these customer orders as you take 5 minutes to order a couple of combos. So there's a lot of pain in that experience, which just means it's ripe to try to solve for with some automation, some AI to help things along, and just make customers feel like there's less pressure to get the order out as quickly as possible. What I can't wait to see is what will all these voices sound like? Like, this is a really important brand decision. You don't want to just go with any random AI voice that's assigned to you. You're going to be really thinking about what does it sound like? What is it? A male voice? Is it a female voice? Is it localized to the region? Right? Obviously, it has to be localized for language purposes, but is there an accent or not? And how do you think about that? So if this really takes off and it becomes like more of a norm, I'll be interested just to see those sort of brand related decisions around it.
You know what you mentioned, Brian, and Kangon, I think you talked about Star Trek. And I'm sure you and I are the original series people. So I'm going to put my nerd on right now. There was the episode in Star Trek where it was the computer was repaired by a female planet. And remember, Captain Kirk spoke into it and was yes, dear, and darling, and all of these things. I think, that underlines the seriousness of what kind of interaction you have with it. Like Alexa's new voice now sounds more natural than it did when I first started using it, which is good. But when it comes down to the practical, and I think this is what you were talking about, Sam, is that really, I think the voice in the home is still very much a Google on steroids. Like the other night, I was saying, how long do I reheat a pizza in the air fryer? And it gives me this based on my records. So, I mean, I think there's still some catching up to do. And then to Brian's point is the only way you can really get into its full potential is if you stop treating AI or anything like this as being a order taker and start communicating and collaborating and challenging it by saying, I don't agree with what you're saying. It's interesting. I work with multi-model AIs, and they argue with each other because they have all different backgrounds, and they collaborate and communicate to come up with a coherent answer. But at the end of the day, I'm still at the wheel driving. And so if I don't agree, they'll sometimes say, well, you're right, I made a mistake. And I'll say, sometimes you got it right, I made a mistake. That's where we should be looking at this evolving to. That's what I think.
Yeah, great points, guys. If you don't have anything else on this story, we can move to the next one. So here we are talking about IBM, very small company, as we all know this. So they are launching a new software to address digital, sovereignty. And I guess, Brian, you are going to be super excited about this one, as far as my understanding goes of your background. So obviously, I mean, they care for this because a lot of enterprises are going to care for this. And I think AI is a real problem. From the geopolitical perspective, there's substantial tension, I would say, overall in how AI is going to work, where data is going to reside. Right now, it's all marketing speak in my mind. Nobody really understands when they utilize any sort of LLM with their operational workflows or use AI native applications or agentic workflows. Nobody knows at what point their data is being touched and where their data is being stored. So there is a lot of chaos and confusion in the market at this point of time. So I don't know how adoptable this strategy is going to be, or is it going to be only available for the enterprises? I think that's where they all are going to start. But this is something that everybody should be paying attention to, everybody should have access to, because risk management in the AI world is going to be substantially difficult, I would say. So over to you guys, whoever wants to open up.
Yeah, this is a really hot term right now, the sovereign AI concept. And we all remember when we went through that data sovereignty conversation back when everybody was adopting the cloud, especially through the regulated industries that had to follow local regulations about where the data was stored, where is it sent, and all of that. But this is a lot more complicated, right? Because as IBM is pointing out here, it's not just about where is the data stored. It's not just about what soil is the data center resting on. There's all these questions about control over AI models, about exactly when the model is coming into contact with the data. Is it being sent out to a third-party server at any point? And I would say I would actually go even further than IBM does with its definition here. So it's making the point on the screen. We see digital sovereignty goes beyond data residency. Yes, good. Who controls environment, how data is accessed and governed, and where workloads execute, and under whose jurisdiction AI models run. And I would say actually not just whose jurisdiction are the models running, but who made the models and who owns the models is part of this too, because there's a cultural aspect to AI that needs to be considered. Have you guys heard about how Japan has been training their own LLMs because they find that the American-made LLMs are too rude? In Japanese language, like obviously it's different, right? But straight translation doesn't work because there's all these honorifics, and there's these nuances that the AI models just aren't understanding. So you can't use them locally in Japan, or otherwise your customers just will be offended. So they've been making this effort to train models locally using native language, right? So just one example of how you have to think about where's the data coming from and how has the model been trained? Is it sensitive to local culture?
It's interesting what you just said. You saw me bobbing my head up and down, Brian, with everything. I mean, I look at it from two aspects of it. Number one, the sovereignty question really addresses structural risk, jurisdictional, compliance exposure, etc. But I go on the other side of the coin, and maybe this is the lead-in from what you're talking about Japan. Organizational readiness, who controls it, who monitors it, who approves changes, and inevitably who's at the wheel. That is key. And my biggest question and concern, if you look at it from a business standpoint, is how many organizations are ready for this. You can build the technology, it can do great things, but as we found over the many decades with great technological breakthroughs, doesn't always result in great practical outcomes. And that's really where I think we have to ask that other question on the other side. It's a good idea, it's proper, it's the right direction, but how do we determine when organizations are ready?
More points, guys. Anybody else have anything?
I see this particular initiative moving, like I believe 2 years back, Accenture appointed the chief AI responsible AI officer. So responsible AI, chief AI security officer. So building onto the top of those, I believe this is what IBM is getting in sovereign code. Because this would have been the need coming from the enterprises, is my understanding, in terms of understanding how the language has been framed. Because how is this different from responsible AI initiatives that the service providers have already been taking in the market? That is one. And building on Brian's point, even in the regulated industries, if we see today, mainframe is having a significant percentage. Like if we see how mainframe the distribution is across the industries, then the regulated industries are the top tiers in it. So even after long years of struggle of adoption of cloud, that hasn't happened. So I'm pretty skeptic of how digital sovereignty will actually work.
Yeah, and Brian, I'm going to have one comment related to your politeness comment, and I don't know where Canada stands on Japanese politeness spectrum, whether that is going to be very similar to your American comment, I guess. But I would be concerned about Kazuma Okamoto, I guess. We just acquired him, paid $60 million. So is he going to do well? Because he's going to feel that we Canadians are probably going to be slightly on a rude side. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I would put if there's a spectrum of politeness culturally, I would put Canadians more towards the rude end than the Japanese, but less so than the Americans.
Okay.
Cute analysis.
Yeah, I mean, we probably need to have a quadrant for that for the maturity spectrum, right? All right, so we can move to the next story.
The rudeness quadrant.
Yeah, that'll be fascinating. All right, so here we have Tasq AI, and Blend announced merger to launch the trust layer. So there's so much happening in the AI, and I think this is a very similar story as the previous one, I guess. So they are talking about multi-billion-dollar AI data market. I have to agree with that. And here they are talking about global network of millions of humans, including 25,000 domain experts. I think AI is probably the biggest domain expert at this point of time. Do you really need domain experts? I'm not too sure about that. But they are right that domain expertise matters. So here they are talking about some of the clients. They have some really, really small clients, Meta, PayPal, and Payoneer, I guess, right? And then they're talking about training for models to be 10x faster. And I don't know, that sounds promising in my mind. But then obviously you have the trust gap. I don't know if they will be able to overcome that. So I'm probably going to have my own personal question. Yeah, I mean, scale and precision, I have to agree with their comment here. Overall, there's definitely some challenges, at least from my perspective, in that. So those would be my questions, comments. I guess I'll open up the floor and then I'll come back.
Well, in this case, I think that the devil's in the details, really, when you get down to it. Because even though we've been talking about all the, the frontier models for the large firms that are, leading the industry, the fact of the matter is the LLM is not the sole place where we should be expecting innovation or increased adoption. We need to be looking down. And I think that the comment around the increase in, or the decrease in training time required for a particular model could be significantly lower just because we're not trying to fit it into the one size fits all paradigm of the large language model. So there might be more specialized cases, specialized models to be used, and potentially some reinforcement learning that goes along with the kinds of training that an enterprise might want to do for their particular the instance that they're using, because it fits onto a vertical model or the specific type of things that they do as an organization. So I think that's actually one of the, I would want to know more about this in order to be able to have a more refined opinion.
Yeah, great points, Ken. Anybody else wants to take on this story?
Yeah, like Ken, I would also want to know more about this, but reading about it a little bit ahead of the show, it looks like they're really focused on that human feedback part of the reinforcement learning, human feedback, right? RLHF. That's the method that's helped OpenAI and other leading AI model makers create these incredible frontier models that we talk about today. So if I'm getting that as an enterprise that's interested in training my own sort of customized model or domain specific model, it sounds potentially good, right? But the human feedback part is only one part of the model training equation, right? And it's probably not even the biggest part of it. It's because there's the input data, there's the other reinforcement learning layers that have to happen. So now we need to learn more about how it's doing that, right? So if it's going to close the trust gap, you just need to learn the answers to all those questions. But I like what they're doing here, and I was noticing that Blend is focused on delivering localization services, right? So it helps you train AI for your local areas. So again, something that Japan would be interested in, right? Or other countries that really care about getting that cultural nuance of their local area right.
You know, it's interesting. I wrote a piece called "My Dinner with Claude," which was a takeoff on "My Dinner with Andre." And one of the things I have to say is this: is multi-model assessment. You have to be able to. I first started with 5 and 6, and then expanded to 12 different models, challenging each other, but you still need the human with the context and the expertise to do that. You know, you can, it's what's the analogy is like, you can build a beautiful Lamborghini, but if somebody doesn't have their driver's license, what good is it? And I mean, seriously. So we've got to, I think it's more rudimentary than that. I think they got to keep doing what they're doing, but the trust layer ultimately comes down to the human context and the willingness to recognize the fact that AI can be wrong, because they'll admit to being wrong. I have models that admit to me all the time, as I stated earlier, saying we missed that one. Model 1 got it right. Model 3 has a better angle on it. I've had them tell me, you're right, John. And on the other side of the coin, I've had them show me where I've been wrong. I think we have to look at AI as human agents, as agentic agents, but there has to be a collaborative. It's not a transactional handing off of ideas and exchanges. It's an actual communication and collaboration where both human and AI learn simultaneously. And the only way you can do that is to get away from those single model and deal with multiple models at the same time, because you're getting the backgrounds and the differences. It's almost like you get this wonderful board of directors who all come from different experiences sitting around the table. But what you've done, and this is the advantage, you remove the ego, the emotion, and you've just focused on what's ultimately the right answer. That's really the key. And I don't think we talk enough about that. I don't think Tasq and I like what they're doing, but the trust layer requires human intervention, and you question everything rather than just following it. And that's where I see these things ultimately going. But it will ultimately depend upon humans to be the final trust layer. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, great points, John. Anybody else has anything else to add, I guess, for next story?
Well, I really like John's take on it. I think that and it very much maps onto my own method of being able to use and what I refer to them as AI partners. Think about it like having a mastermind available to you, like a mastermind group where you're bringing in diverse perspectives. And yeah, you can actually tune and say, I want you to play a particular role, take on a persona, but you don't even have to do that in order to gain value from it, to have that cross-checking and that deeper level of engagement that John's talking about. 2 thumbs up.
Thank you. And we have to avoid the crew AI model, where you artificially silo different models into certain functionality. It has to be, you know what? They should call it the WBS Rocks model, because everyone can talk freely about anything outside of their silos. We need a WBS Rocks AI architecture. Sam?
Yeah, that
Look
should
for that
be
Gupta AI soon.
Yeah, that should be the goal. Anything that has WBS Rocks or Gupta AI, I think that is going to be the most polite model, and that never argues with anybody, I guess. Because obviously that's the winner. But do you want to go to the next story, or do you want to stick to this?
Well, I'm sorry. I've got to say this. I've got to sign off. I had something that just come up, but there's no way I was going to miss today. So I'm sorry, but this is one of the most enjoyable conversations I've had, and you got my brain thinking.
Thank you so much, John, for being here. Take care of whatever you have to. I'll see you next time. All right, guys, we'll go to the next one. Thanks, John.
Yeah,
John. Okay, so we are going to Teradata, and this is very interesting as well. So they are talking about accelerating AI innovation. I don't think anybody else is talking about that in 2026. So they are talking about AI-powered solutions for global enterprises. There are 150 AI-focused customer engagements, which is great. What else do we have? AI platform for the autonomous era, unified structured and unstructured data. What else do we have? I mean, they are doing a lot. And generally, in my mind, when I look at AI use cases, I think that's probably going to be within the data layer. That's where I see the real power. That's how I segment AI in my brain. To be completely honest, because that's where the real power is. It has some power in the transactional use cases as well, but it's not the same. So I think these guys they have the real power from the AI perspective, and so that's what makes me excited about this story. I don't know about you guys. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, congratulations, Teradata, I guess, to getting to 150 deployments. I guess that's the benchmark where it warrants a press release that you tell everybody how many clients you've helped with AI deployment. But hey, it is evidence that shows that many of these enterprise clients, and they're listing a lot of clients in those regulated industries here. So that's actually noteworthy to me that they're figuring out how to do this in those industries where you'd expect more friction from AI agents automating different tasks and processes because of those pesky regulators always wanting to have auditable records and all that. But we are moving past, I guess, that pilot phase and into true operational deployment, which we know has been a big hang up in the enterprise space. So Teradata is telling everybody we are accomplishing this. We're not just stopping at the pilot phase and then going out and looking at what the next pilot is. We're following through into deployment.
Great points, Brian. Ken or
yeah. So a couple of interesting points that I see. One, as Brian mentioned, 150 AI focused customer engagements. I would definitely like to understand how is the split looking between the POCs versus somewhat phased forward pilots, and then those into production. I believe those into production would be handful. Considering the fact that, as Brian was mentioning, that the industries that are written are all the regulated, highly regulated industries: financial services, healthcare, pharma, manufacturing, defense. So even more difficult to understand as to what percentage would have gone into production. A decade back, we were sitting at the structured data AI platforms. Then we have been moving towards the unstructured data, and now we are at the AI agents and completely unstructured format. So in that sense, I believe Teradata is moving in line with the how the enterprise adoption is moving and how its peers are doing. So in that sense, it is moving quite well in terms of providing operationalized AI ML real-time insights. So in that sense, it seems good. It seems good, but a couple of things seems missing. Like it has mentioned work focused on high value use cases. However, there are a couple of use cases that are actually missing here. So when they're mentioning 150 engagements done, in that sense, some use cases which are actually very high value seem to be missing here. So a mixed take, 2.5 by 5 from my side.
Yeah, that would have been my question as well. And and it's coming across as more of the traditional AI. I don't know how much is this agentic AI. I think that's what everybody's talking about. So if you are talking about this AI, I don't know. I mean, sometimes people might feel that this is a very traditional AI as opposed to the newer one. So that segmentation also is missing, I guess, as from this. Ken?
Yeah, so the thing I would say about this is, welcome to the life of an analyst. Because I think one of the things I was impressed by when I first started out as an analyst was how much you end up seeing about the common things that customers experience, and you get to relate to the people you interact with on inquiries and such in a way which helps make whatever story that is relevant to what that person's need is. And I think that this is a good example of a company that now, regardless of what the number is, you gain enough experience where you can start to talk about what you do, how you do it in a way which would provide value to them, and also provide a bridge into that area that they consider what's next. So, I mean, this is the analyst lifestyle, with the exception now you've got a specific focus on your technology and how it gets consumed in the customer that you're working with.
Yeah, could not agree more. Can anybody else has any other comments on this? No? Okay, perfect. Okay, let's move to the next one. So this is the Agentic Commerce solution, Tredence, I guess, and they are the global data science and AI solution provider, and they are launching the Accelerator. And I don't know if I'm too familiar with this brand, I guess. So they have something.
I'll be right back. Sorry.
Okay, no problem, Ken. All right, so they are talking about configurable, starting points to design, build, and scale agent-driven shopping experience. My question on this point would be: there is a lot happening in this market, and I don't know how caught up you guys are. But obviously, if you look at OpenAI, they have their own protocol that they have announced. Shopify is doing similar things as well to make sure that this commerce experience is enabled with the agentic commerce experience. Now, these guys are talking about their own accelerator. So I don't know who's going to win in this war. But then they are also talking about, these guys provide system of agents. I don't know how to interpret this, but this is going to be, they're talking about shoppers' intent and orchestrates personalized experiences. Again, I mean, that's going to be similar when you look at any of the agentic commerce experiences. And then they have a little bit of intelligent agent. Again, I don't see anything different there as such. They are doing collaboration with Google Cloud.
See, my particular understanding is agentic AI, similar to how the AI evolved. AI evolved starting with, I believe, retail, and second was telecom. Retail and telecom were the set of verticals which were, in my understanding, the front runners in AI adoption in ways and means because of the way the kind of data was organized in the industry. So at least in the organized retail. So similar to those lines, I believe agentic AI is also evolving fast. As if we see the retail standpoint, agentic AI has limited use cases when we talk about the B2B side of the telecom space. But in the B2C side, I believe retail is a space which will have the fastest traction in the market of agentic AI. And if we see the use cases here, these seem to be quite closer to what the enterprises need in terms of predicting user behavior, modeling shopper experiences, and even more closer to making users purchase. Considering the fact that I believe last year or maybe last to last year, all the major retailers were trying to have automated checkout systems. So AI agents plus automated checkout systems sit very well.
Okay, great points. Brian, anything to add there from your perspective?
Yeah, just that I think retailers are going to be highly motivated to make this work because there is that opportunity to solve so many pain points that customers have with online shopping today. It's easy to go online and buy some of the simple everyday products that we need from like your Amazon or wherever you're getting it. But then when you're making like more complicated purchases, like say you're buying a new car, to go back to that Porsche example that you raised, Sam, there's a lot of points of configuration that the average person isn't going to be considering normally. So when they're looking at this big sheet of specs and they're thinking, what does this really mean? And what actually provides the value or makes a difference to me? Being able to start from the point of here's my mission and here's what I would value in a car, and then have AI agents sort of narrow down the choices to you and help position the different products. That's really powerful, right? And then automating you from the point of intent to that purchase. I mean, that just is a dream to a retailer. And if they can get these agentic systems hooked up to your wallet and then have it automating purchases for you, like you give it a budget every month and you don't even think about what you're buying anymore, it's just shipping you stuff. I mean, now you're really talking.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Definitely a dream for retailers. I think that was a great, angle there. Okay, if we don't have anything else on this one, Ken, you are back.
Ken is back. Yeah.
I'm back.
Okay.
Move
okay.
on.
Perfect. So let's go to the next one, I guess. So here, you're talking about Akkodis, I guess. I don't know how to pronounce this and what that word means. Maybe you guys can help me. I don't know where that is coming from. So I'm not too familiar with this company as well, but they seem to be a consulting firm, and consulting firms are doing some interesting things as well. And they are talking about launch of AI core. It's an AI platform. They are talking about AI platform, and they can create, modify, train customized AI models in eco-friendly ways. I don't know how many people care for that, but then they are also talking about a lot of different hardware side of things, I guess. The way I am reading it.
So not into the hardware side of the things, Sam. I track this particular company, Akkodis. This is a digital engineering specialist.
Yeah.
They are more into the asset heavy verticals. That's why you got the feeling of hardware. Automotive, railways are the set of the verticals they cater to, aerospace and defense. My quick take on what is happening here is AI code, any addition of AI in the asset heavy verticals is a new thing in the asset heavy side, because asset heavy side, whole of the adoption is seemingly less as compared to your software side. There's AI agentic solutions are less predominant. The traditional soft flow solutions of predictive maintenance are there, but as Akkodis adds the AI code or the agentic AI or any such solutions, coupled with anything sustainable like eco-friendly, it gives them a differentiator. So I give them good score there. Though the use cases that I mentioned here are of traditional AI, like the automated ADAS, brake pad monitoring are the traditional AI solutions. So they are trying to do things, but I don't think they are still there.
Yeah, so when you are talking about giving a score, maybe talk about the competitive landscape as well. I don't know who else have you given a good score to. I don't know if you have any insight into this market. So tell me how the competitive landscape is laid out here.
See, in terms of the competitive landscape, there are a couple of companies like the Capgemini Engineering, you would have heard. They are doing significantly well in this market. Then there are some certainly smaller set of firms like Alton, which are also doing very well in the asset heavy space. So all of these companies are trying to add the AI suite of solutions to their existing bouquet of solutions. However, if you see how the market is panning out in terms of how the services companies are doing, they are finding it difficult to get these things done well, coupled with the fact that enterprise adoption is seemingly lower on the asset heavy side for anything AI. Because if you see the asset heavy verticals, they are more, I would say, they are more skeptic to their sharing their set of data or using any kind of LLMs on their existing data. So in that sense, the adoption is also lower. So both the demand side and the supply side have issues. But the leaders would be someone like, you can think in the mind, Gemini Engineering, Alton. They are pretty strong players in the market. So yeah.
Yeah, so very interesting. So my take on this would be, I guess, how they are going to compete with some of the product-centric companies, because the ones that you spoke about are all consulting companies, and they all are trying to productize their offerings as well. But I think IFS should be in this market, and they have very similar offering. Then you have ServiceNow, which is also in this particular market, and then maybe PTC, and which one is that? Aviva, I guess, are probably some companies. So Brian,
Akkodis, Akkodis, I believe, would be working with all these partner firms like Aviva, Dassault Systems, Siemens, Rockwell Automation. I believe all of these would be requiring Akkodis services. So yeah.
So this would be an IP on top of the core product, I guess. I mean, that's how. Okay, great. All right. Ken, Brian, you guys? No comments? Okay.
No.
Ken, nothing? Okay. Do you want to move to the next story then? Okay, perfect. Okay. So here we are talking about RT, and they are a big startup. They have announced Series A. And they are talking about making real-time data default for AI systems, and I don't know how real that real time is. They are talking about data streaming platform. So, and again, I mean, freshness, I guess, and I don't know how you would interpret this, because these days my understanding of large language model is that they are fairly recent. As soon as I publish something, AI already knows about it. I don't know how it does, where it is finding the information. Sometimes it's faster than the traditional indexing, because Google used to take like 3 months, I would say, to even recognize that you have written something. Google did not care, but AI, for whatever reason, knows right away. And then they are talking about production grade real time data pipeline. So that would fall more into the Teradata boundaries. But my questions would be that, okay, and there is a little overlap, I would say, when you talk about this one, then, with your Databricks Snowflake, because they were talking about real time data, because you don't have to move that data. So these guys are talking about that as well. And again, I mean, if they are talking about next generation of data infrastructure will be streaming, I'm not too sure about that comment. Not sure if everything is going to be stream. Every data has their own sort of personality. So this would make sense when you talk about the real time data. In those cases, streaming might make sense. But I mean, from the data warehousing perspective, it might have some sense. It might make sense when we talk about operational data, streaming data. That's where I guess their play is going to be. So I'll open up the floor now. You guys have comment?
Yeah, I was looking into this too, and it's interesting. I was trying to wrap my head around this data streaming concept and what they really meant by that. Like, Arty seems to be a data replication platform, right? So now they're saying, hey, we'll get your data to the AI systems that maybe you're training, or maybe for your RAG workflows, and you want the AI prompts to be always reporting or sourcing the most relevant and recent updated data within your enterprise. Of course, that's going to be valuable, right? And we were talking earlier in this conversation about that, having trust with AI and building the trust. And nothing makes you lose trust with AI more quickly than realizing you're working with out of date data, right? So you want always the most up to date thing available to you. And so if you can get that, that's good. But I'm just questioning actually the data replication model in the context of AI. With model context protocol, I thought that one of the benefits of this sort of model was that the AI agents can access your data in the systems where it already resides, right? So I'm wondering, like, why are we trying to replicate our data across all these points? Is that the best way to manage it? Why don't we just bring in AI to the source already, and then we don't have to replicate it? So, maybe you guys have some insight on that.
So my understanding on that comment, Brian, would be that the traditional concerns that were there, why you wanted to build a data warehouse to begin with, there were some concerns, right? It's not just I have removed concerns about moving data. Moving data has become easier. That does not mean that we should not move, because number one, you are going to have the transactional performance implications on your transactional workload. The second problem that you are going to get into is the kind of rules that you are going to have with transactional workflows. Is it even worth putting all of that data inside your transactional systems? It's going to be just over bloated, and that's why moving to a data warehouse platform or data lake or whatever you want to call that makes sense, because that's going to have a lot more data. It's going to have a very different structure. Generally, the structure that is required for your transactional use cases is generally very different. And my understanding of MCP is that yes, MCP can access data from anywhere, but for the most part, the interaction is more towards the LLM. It can access data from other sources as well, but primarily that is for LLM. That's my understanding. I don't know if all of the other integration technologies
it brings the data from your enterprise systems to the LLM, right? So that's why you build your model context protocol around your legacy systems. So you're basically saying, hey, AI, here's my data, and here's like how to access it and what sort of queries you should respond to, and where you're paying attention to the data here when you're getting these questions. So and then you're talking about the data warehouse here, Sam. So is Arty, like, are you saying like Arty is useful if you're using a data warehouse sort of approach to manage your data?
Yeah, I don't think their play is really into the data warehouse. I think their space is more towards streaming. And streaming, when you talk about, I think that's a very siloed space inside your data warehouse when you are talking about the streaming data. And I don't know if they are going to be present in every industry out there. Their industry would be when you talk about observability, and I think Robert would have had a lot more insight on this one because he tracks that space a lot more. So you talk about any sort of notifications, whether you have any events from where you need to capture any notifications. Asset centric industries would have these notifications as well. That's a like real stream, continuous ping when you want to track that. That's a very different data than any other data sets that an organization is going to have. So I think they have a very focused space, even though they are broadly talking about that everybody's going to have that need. I don't think that's true. More comments, guys? Anybody else?
Yeah, so from my perspective, this is another example, I think, of where the devil's in the details. So two things. First off, I think depending upon the approach that they're taking, it is going to highlight architectural issues, and specifically like all of the different systems and where they're obtaining data from, and exactly what is meant by real time.
Yeah.
Because certainly we have enough data sources available to us, whether it's as a provider organization or as an enterprise, that the volume of being able to expect that an LLM is going to be able to handle that is an unreasonable thing, because we do not have unlimited context windows, right? So we are not going to get real-time responsiveness from the agents at this point in order to be able to make good decisions. There's going to have to be some layer of filtering that goes on to be able to say, what do we expose and what do we want to ask questions or potentially take an action about? So for me, this is about, we really need to understand a little bit more about what they're doing. I like the direction. I think that's actually promising, but at this point, it's more of a wait and see.
Yeah, great points, Ken. Anything from your side, Ankur, or next story?
Yeah, we can move to the next.
Okay, let's do that. All right, so here we have ClickHouse, and they are at Series D. Okay, so $400 million. And again, a lot of different AI stories, and some of these are going to be AI infrastructure in my mind when I look at their positioning. So these guys are also talking about real-time analytics, data warehouse, and again, observability was my comment in the previous story. That's where their place is. That's where any sort of event-centric, capabilities, functionalities are going to be there. Some people feel that everything is going to be event-driven. I don't believe that, because that data, that space is very unique. The kind of things that you need in that specific space, right? So now they are talking about exceptional performance, whatever that means. I don't know that. Okay. Then they have unified transactional and analytical workloads. I don't know how to read that. I don't have much here, I guess, in terms of the story. They are talking about expanding their offering to include LLM observability. I don't know what is happening in that space. If you guys track any of the players in that space right now, the auditability is there, but not to the point where I would like to see, at least from the business workflow perspective. So maybe they are working on that. They are talking about AI application builders can evaluate the quality and behavior of AI outputs. Obviously, that's fascinating if you can do that. But I mean, context is where the play is. So you talk about evaluating the quality, but quality for whom, I guess, is going to be my question. And I think these two stories are very similar, the previous one and this one, right? So they are talking about enterprise grade, Postgres service deeply integrated with ClickHouse. I think they were doing, so maybe they are competitors, most likely. But this space seems to be hot because both of them receive funding. So I would say there is a play here. Comments?
I agree with your comments, Sam. And I think that when we start thinking about, like, from an infrastructure and operations perspective, there's often a disconnect between the things that we track on an I&O perspective, like performance of machines, uptime, availability, capacity management. There's often a pretty hard line between those sets of concerns and what the business actually needs and regardless of what the type of business is, but regardless of what the consumer would need in order to be able to make better decisions about what serves the organization. And I think that this is directionally what they're speaking to, is being able to, instead of just being able to get speeds and feeds kind of numbers, but how can we actually tie those into what the organization actually cares about? And that's the piece I find interesting about this and why I think it would be a worthwhile investment. And again, another one of those, the devil's in the details. I'd actually love to see more about it.
Yeah, could not agree more. Brian?
I mean, this observability question is a big sticking point for the regulated industries that we were talking about earlier. We saw Teradata making some headway there, so I wonder how they've addressed this actually. But yeah, to see that LLM observability component as part of the fundraising motivation here doesn't surprise me, because if you can solve that problem, you're unlocking a big market for potential automation there. And as enterprises are trying to put in place their AI strategies, they're often grappling with how to do AI governance, and it's a big workload, right? And they're looking for automation at that level, the AI governance. So if you want to approach something like policy as code, you'll absolutely need this sort of observability element to your platform to make it work.
Yeah. More points from you, Ankur. I think great points, Brian. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the only thing that I was thinking was that LLM observability. I don't think if I'm speaking it right, but it is something which I've been observing in the news at least for the last 6 to 8 months. Real-time analytics in this particular domain is something that I want to go into the more details, as Ken was talking about, as to what it is specifically and why is it being hot in terms of getting $400 million here and another, I believe, some double-digit $1 million in the last news article that we saw. So yeah.
Yeah, and the literal translation of this space is logging and tracking, I guess. And it's just mind-blowing how hot this space could be and how much money goes into just logging, debugging, and tracking. All right, guys. So I think that's closer to our time. So we'll do short wrap today. So we are going to do with Brian. Do you want to go first? Any closing comments, thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I'll just give a plug to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Check out our new CIO Priorities 2026 report. It's available at infotech.com, or if you don't have access, message me on LinkedIn here, and I'll make sure I can get you a copy.
Yeah, amazing. Please check out. Brian is amazing what he writes. So you should definitely follow him. Ken, over to you. Any closing comments?
I think that with all of the things that have been happening just in the first 2 months of 2026, we've got a lot of stuff to be excited about moving forward for the rest of the year and into 2027. So if this seems like it's a breakneck pace of innovation, just wait.
Yeah, could not agree more. I think I completely agree with your assessment. Ankur, any closing comments from your side?
Yeah, just I would express thank to everyone, and would want the viewers to follow me on LinkedIn if they would like to follow my content, and visit my website House of Analyst Ankur for some interesting state of digital transformation reports. I am building more of a buy side advisory firm, so all my assessments are more on the enterprise state of digital transformation. So you can check out and get to know what the enterprise current state is.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. And our goal here always is to bring the best talent in the analyst community. So yeah, they have the best resources. So definitely check them out. On that note, that's a wrap. We meet every Friday we used to meet at 11 a.m. Eastern. Now we are going to meet at 1 p.m. Eastern from next week onwards. So I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for dialing in.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.